I'm feeling happy. You try to trap me, say you're pregnant, and guess who's the daddy? Don't wanna fall for it, but in this case, what could I do? So now I'm back to making promises to you, trying to keep it true. What if I'm wrong? A trick to keep me holding on, trying to be strong in the process, keep it going. About to lose my composure, I'm getting close to packing up and leaving notes and get.
Good evening. Tonight, a memorandum of understanding that could change what Jamaica means to the world and what the world can ask of Jamaica. The government has confirmed that Jamaica has entered into an arrangement with the United States to receive third country nationals, individuals being deported by Washington who are not Jamaican, for transit through this island to their home countries or third territories. The Ministry of National Security says the safeguards are real. Critics say the risks are not. So tonight, the Court of Appeal, as well, has given Fitz-Jackson leave to challenge Scotiabank's encashment fees rulings. 7 years, one check, and a question that you, a bank customer, need answered. Also inside today's edition of The Global Lead, the 11th Biennial Jamaica Diaspora Conference is underway in Montego Bay. Today is Diaspora Day. $3.6 billion in remittances came into this country in 2024. We ask, what is the diaspora getting in return? And in tonight's Global Current, Iran commutes to its own World Cup. Britain bans social media for children, and one man is now worth 63 Jamaicas. I'm Jody Ann Quarry, and this is Lead Story's Global Lead. The Ministry of National Security and Peace issued a formal statement today, Tuesday, June 16, 2026, confirming that Jamaica and the United States have entered into a memorandum of understanding concerning third country nationals. TCNs, as they're known, nationals of other countries who have been ordered removed by the United States authorities. The government says these individuals would transit through Jamaica on their way home or to a third territory. They are allaying fears that have been raised by individuals that they would be permanent residents, saying they wouldn't be settled here. The government says that it has negotiated safeguards, individual vetting, health screening, criminal record checks, and clearance by the National Intelligence Bureau. We saw this come up this morning in a Gleaner article report, and the Ministry of National Security has responded, saying that a hard cap, according to the ministry, is no more than 10 third country nationals remaining in Jamaica within any 30-day window. But the questions that follow are serious. What legal status do these individuals hold while they're on Jamaican soil? Does the principle of not returning them, non-refoulement, the international law prohibiting returning a person to a place where they face prosecution, apply the moment a flight lands at Norman Manley International? And well, Jamaica has a parliament, so does Parliament have any role in the arrangement of this magnitude? To examine the legal framework, we're joined now by Dr. Marcus Goff, attorney at law, partner at Goff Law, and lecturer at the Faculty of Law at the University of West Indies, Mona. Dr. Goff, thanks so much for joining us inside Lead Story.
Thanks so much, Julian. Thanks for having me.
Dr. Goff, we're watching this situation now. A situation where the government statement issued today, some would say in response to the Gleaner article this morning that made reference to Jamaica having discussions with the United States about third-party individuals transiting through Jamaica through a third territory. That's what we're being told. But for many individuals are deeply concerned about that. When you heard the news this morning and then have been made aware of the Ministry of National Security's response, what was your response?
Julian, my jaw dropped. I think that when you look at the history of these types of arrangements and the current situation, in terms of the legality of them, which is very questionable, when you look at the circumstances of the government's stance towards Haitians in particular and other, asylum seekers and refugees here, and Jamaica's record in that regard, it's highly hypocritical. And then when you look at the level of secrecy, right, that has been also a ground for challenge in other jurisdictions, it's highly concerning.
You call it highly concerning and made reference to the Haitian nationals that have made their way onto Jamaican shores over the past decade, with Jamaica having sent back scores of these individuals, including women and children. You've been on record criticizing the Jamaican government's position on this treatment of Haitian migrants in Jamaica, especially Haitian women held in police custody in St. Catherine without allowing them to access legal counsel. Does our way of dealing with migrants right now, our existing track record, allow you to feel confident that the safeguards in place in the MOU will be honored in practice?
No. And I think that the authorities should look at the legal situation before they undertake this. Wherever this agreement has been done, it's been challenged, and there are ongoing challenges in the U.S. itself around these issues. And of course, we have the very high-profile challenge in the UK concerning the UK-Rwanda arrangement, in which the Supreme Court of the UK, overturned that arrangement and described it as being one that exposed asylum seekers and refugees and deportees to further human rights abuses in Rwanda, not only in terms of their national human rights record and legal system, but also their international refugee treatment record. A lot of safeguards concerning due process and so forth And so we are in the same vein, the same circumstances here, where our record of treating asylum seekers is not a good one. We don't have a safe asylum seeker house or location where they can be safely processed. We don't have that. What we have is substandard accommodation being provided. The circumstances in our jails and our holding areas where we have persons who fall in these categories are deplorable. And so we are very likely to have a similar constitutional challenge, because these kind of arrangements are not going to be fitting within our constitutional framework.
Well, that is not something that we've yet seen before the courts. But coming from the Gleaner's article this morning and now the ministry's statement, they say that Jamaica will retain full authority to reject any individual proposed for transfer, that we won't take anybody. That they've also said the screening mechanism named is the National Intelligence Bureau. Now, do you at this moment understand what the NIB's statutory mandate is and whether it has a legal authority and operational capacity to conduct protection screenings of dozens of foreign nationals from dozens of foreign countries?
No, I don't know the NIB in particular, but as I say, the ministry and the agencies responsible for dealing with refugee rights in this country, I think, do not fully appreciate the extent of refugee rights and how to deal with that situation, both from a point of view of the law and from resource allocation. And so that therefore means that when we're getting persons who are going to be sent back through the USA, from the USA, in droves, in large numbers, whether they're screening or not, right, the fact is that there's going to be a challenge here, legally, and also a resource challenge here as well, right? Even though there may be, of course, funds being paid, that kind of transaction, which is also troubling to Jordan, because here we are as a country of formerly enslaved Africans trading in people, trafficking in persons, and these kind of arrangements are so akin to those kind of situations where we're trading in persons, moving them around against their free will oftentimes, or certainly their circumstances of coercion, and there's transactional incentive for that. It's totally wrong.
For many people, this reminded them of the offer by the UK government a few years ago, offering to build a prison here in Jamaica. But the caveat was that they were going to then fill the prison with all of the deported Jamaicans from the United Kingdom that they said were in their prisons. If you were advising Jamaica's government now, they're not planning to build any prisons here as far as we're aware. No government that has received this offer from the United States has had a major influx of cash come with it as well. If you were advising the Jamaican government, what would you say to them at this time?
I think we need to first come to grips with our own situation here as it relates to our dealing and treatment of refugees and asylum seekers here. We have a outdated Aliens Act, which predates the Constitution, which has several provisions which we're currently challenging in the court. We have a refugee policy, which is also somewhat dated, which is not part of the law itself and does not properly provide the safeguards or, as I say, the resource allocation and infrastructure to properly deal with refugees when they come in our land. And so we can't be taking on external situations, even though they may be financially attractive as they may be, without fixing what we have here, which is a real challenge itself. And until we understand it properly and seek to fix it, within proper legal and resources being applied to that, we don't and can't take on, I think, these external issues. And certainly that would be to exacerbate these legal and resource restrictions.
Well, this is brand new now on the country's radar and something that you've helped us get more information on as we consider what this offer would mean for us. Dr. Marcus Goff, attorney at law and lecturer at the UWI Mona Faculty of Law. Thanks so much for joining us inside Lead Story. Dr. Goff talking to us there, but next we talk about what banking fees mean to you and why a decision by Jamaican courts might leave some more money in your pocket. Stay with us.
unemployment rate has fallen to 3.3%, down from 13.2% in 2016. Our government's continued focus on job creation is delivering real results. We are building Jamaica. The time by the Office of the Prime Minister is...
You notice how life nice when you eat good? Natural feed, fresh grass, no stress. Stress? I don't know her. They say happy cows make better milk. Well, just look how happy we are. And I'm sure you can taste the difference. So move to the best milk ever. True milk.
At Hawkeye, we work hard to develop state-of-the-art security solutions like our new Total Connect smart home automation system that gives you 24/7 access to control your appliances, lights, cameras, and doors using your smartphone, tablet, or PC. As the most trusted electronic security company in Jamaica, Hawkeye has the fastest response times to get to you when you need us most. Trust Hawkeye's Total Connect. Hawkeye, securing what matters most.
The internationally acclaimed On Stage with Winfred Williams.
At a new time, Saturdays at 8 p.m. on CVM TV.
So much more than entertainment.
Jackson is Member of Parliament for St. Catherine South and the opposition spokesman on national security. He's also the man who refused to accept a $385 check encashment fee at Scotiabank's Portmore branch in 2019 and has been in court over it ever since. Yesterday, the Court of Appeal granted him leave to challenge a 2024 Supreme Court ruling that sided with the bank. Mr. Jackson now joins us inside Lead Story to discuss. Jackson, good evening and welcome to Lead Story. Mr. Jackson, you're on mute as you join us this evening.
I'm sorry, my apology. I didn't know. Let me then greet you. Good evening, madam, and good evening to your listeners.
Thanks so much, Fix Jackson. You've become known as the banking fees man for quite a number of years because of your relentless pursuit of this issue of banking fees. Yesterday, the Court of Appeal granted you leave to appeal the 2024 Supreme Court ruling in favor of Scotiabank for your check encashment fees case. Now, the matter is before the court, so we're not talking and prejudicing the outcome. But what does granting of leave mean for you personally after not 1, not 2, but 7 years of pursuing this matter?
It feels good, I must say. I'm delighted with the outcome of the hearing that we had in the Court of Appeal. I want to thank profusely my legal team, led by King's Counsel Douglas Lays and Senior Counsels Anthony Williams and Miss Annette Henry. Really delighted in the support that they have provided to me over the period. What it means is that, what the ruling says is that the decision of this Judge Crescenzo Brown Beckford to have denied me the leave to make the appeal against her own judgment was not in order. And as such, the court ruled in the manner that it did yesterday. In the hearing, the court made it clear that based on the arguments presented and the submissions made by our legal team, there is a strong possibility for the case to succeed when it is heard again. And we are there now. We felt that from the beginning, that the ruling that was initially given was flawed in many ways, and the Court of Appeal concurs with that assessment on our part.
You are the person who's been pursuing this for quite a number of years, 7 years. You've now had the Court of Appeal say go ahead. But Scotiabank discontinued check encashment fees entirely while your case was before the courts, before the Supreme Court even ruled. Help us understand in practical terms, what have Jamaican consumers already won, regardless of the outcome of this case?
Well, the pursuit has given tremendous success to the Jamaican public, but not sufficient. In the case of BNS, as you just said, before the case concluded, in their submissions, their amended defense, they acknowledged the breach in their submission. That's public knowledge from public documentation in their filings. Number two, they went further and they discontinued the encashment fee for their customers. And thirdly, they also extended it to discontinue the check encashment fee for non-BNS customers. So that is a clear reward or achievement for persons who have been given checks drawn on BNS account who wish to encash it. But what has not happened, and that's why this case continues, not only do I want back my $385 that I'm convinced that it was illegally extracted for me to get the face value of the check that was given to me in settlement of a debt, but other Jamaicans are suffering from the same thing. Now, when the court rules, I'm confident, I'm not saying if, when it rules in my favor, it will then establish that the encashment fee is a breach of existing legislation. It is not merely something unfair to me. Because the case before the court is not about what is fair or what is burdensome or what is unreasonable. The case before the court is for BNS, that super rich multinational entity that is extracting fees from Jamaicans illegally. That is the profound statement that will come from a judgment in support of our submission. And that would apply to all banks in Jamaica.
It would apply to all of us. Fitz-Jackson, I have my production team here saying, may more things happen to Fitz-Jackson so he can fight for all of us, with them saying that you bringing this case before the courts is something then that, one, the encashment fees having been removed, and then two, you say you continue to go further because you believe that they would have breached laws in place. You have been described as single-handedly taking on this giant mechanism here with regard to these banking fees. But the broader question is, why does my production team need to ask for something to happen to long-term Member of Parliament Fitz-Jackson in order to have this brought before the courts, in order to have this changed? Is this something then that you think also needs to be amended, this very process that we use to amend these things? Should there have been a legislative framework that fixes it if the banking fees that were put in place did not comply with legislation, or does it require us to have people like you going before the court every single time?
Yes, but you know, I believe quite strongly, Ms. Quarry, that the Bank of Jamaica is derelict in its responsibilities. And why do I say that? The Bank of Jamaica is the regulator who licensed these deposit-taking institutions. And as the regulator, it has the obligation, not a favor, to ensure that its licensees, which are the banks, conduct all their business in keeping with existing Jamaican legislation. In the first instance, they have not done that in this case, and neither are they doing it as it relates to the dormancy fee, which I contend is also a breach of existing legislation.
And for those Jamaicans at home who don't know, this dormancy fee refers to payments that you have to make out of your account for accounts that are deemed inactive by the bank, and therefore you can siphon out thousands of dollars from individuals who have not used these bank accounts. Is that correct?
You are extremely correct. What is of note regarding the dormancy fee, and that's another matter that I'm going to dedicate 100%. As soon as I get this one out the way, I'm going to pursue further the dormancy account. Guess what happened, Ms. Quarry? A couple of years ago, 2018, after I had tabled the bill before Parliament, which, by the way, is seek to establish a minimum service standard for banks, which is to say, for a range of services that account holders of the banks transact with the bank, there are no fees. Not quantum of fees, but no fees for those services. So that's why it's called a minimum service package. Subsequent to tabling that bill, which the government then used its majority to kill and cause the charges to continue. Because if the bill was passed, I would not have to go to court about the encashment fee. Because in that bill, it explicitly prohibits the encashment fee. But the other breach that has been committed by the bank and the BOJ stands still, and the government similarly stands still. Section 36 of the Banking Services Act imposes a duty of care on licensees of the BOJ, which, in a simple term, the banks, for them to keep all funds placed with them safely. That is to say, if you put $100,000 in the bank has a duty and an obligation to ensure that at least that $100,000 remains intact. With the imposition of the dormancy fee, the banks unilaterally extract portions of that 100,000, and in many instances still it go down to a phenomenally low number.
Or even zero, and that is part of the concern that has been raised by some Jamaicans as well, that monies in those accounts now are no longer accessible to them or their family members should they need them. And you said that this is then your next fight after you've done with the check encashment issue, now that you've received leave from the Court of Appeal. You are, though, as well, not only Member of Parliament who's gone before the courts on this issue. I have to hold on to your other hat here as opposition spokesperson on national security just before we go, Fitz-Jackson, because we've had the big news today of an agreement. Minister of National Security issuing a statement today confirming that Jamaica has entered into an MOU with the United States to receive third country nationals. As opposition spokesman, when did you first learn about this, and was the opposition consulted?
Oh, well, first of all, the opposition was never consulted. We knew about it, like most Jamaicans, by the publication this morning. And what is of note, something of this magnitude, something that brings the sovereignty of Jamaica into question, was never raised in the public domain. I'm gathering that it's through a leaked document that we become aware. And subsequent to that leaked document, which caused the publication in today's daily paper, the government, through the Minister of National Security, hastily put a release out subsequent to demand made by the opposition for more information. But the information that they have given so far is cause for greater concern. Firstly, why are we getting into this arrangement? What is Jamaica's interest to benefit from this engagement with these third-party nationals being held indefinitely in Jamaica? First, we have to get an answer to that, because there's no point in pursuing terms and arrangement if we can't justify the action in the first instance. But what is of note, following from the release I've read, is that this Andrew Holness administration is the same administration that shred to pieces the proposal being pursued by former PNP administration for a prison, a state-of-the-art prison in Jamaica to host Jamaican nationals being detained in the UK. Not third-party nationals, Jamaicans who we ultimately could not refuse to take because they are our citizens. And now we are hearing, through the drips and drabs of the statement by the Minister of National Security that this is being considered, that is being considered.
And it is certainly something that you said the opposition wasn't consulted on, which means then that we're going to have more discussions about not only the details, but what the opposition sees in its proposal that had been made previously and what's on the table now. Fitzjackson, we're out of time, but thanks for joining us as Member of Parliament for St. Catherine South and opposition spokesman on national security.
My pleasure. All the best to you and your listeners.
Taking a break and going back to the Jamaica diaspora next.
Make we do the right thing. Make we live good today for a better tomorrow. Talk it out. Don't fight it out. The time by the Ministry of National Security is
6:30.
For years, Jamaica has been operating at just about 50% of the blood donations needed to meet national demand. That means for every 2 persons who require blood, only 1 donation is available. And the truth is, many of us only think about donating when there's a tragedy. But hospitals need blood every single day. With a single donation, you can make a big difference. You are somebody's type.
Donating blood is easier than most people think. Once you are 16 years or older, with parental consent at 16, you can donate. 17 to 60, just walk in and register. Up to 65 if you're a regular donor. You will need to present a government-issued ID. If you weigh at least 110 pounds and you're in good health, you're likely eligible. Controlled high blood pressure? That's okay. Diabetic but not on insulin? That's okay too. Tattoos or piercings older than 6 months? You can donate. We'll do a quick check of your hemoglobin level. If it's 12.5 or above, you're good to go. You will also have a short conversation with one of our medical professionals just to ensure that donation is safe for you. The actual donation takes about 8 to 15 minutes. That's less time than taking a lunch break. Less time than scrolling your phone. Your body replaces the volume within 24 hours. Red blood cells take about 6 weeks. That's why you can donate every 3 months. We will help you to rehydrate before you leave. Just remember, eat before you come and drink plenty of fluids. Every donation can help up to 3 persons. They may never know your name, but they will live because you showed up. Because somewhere today, you are somebody's type.
When we give a little, we make a big difference. A mother after childbirth, a child with sickle cell disease, a patient undergoing surgery. Right now, donations are at 40 to 50% of what's needed, which means there is room for more of us. It's simple, it's safe, it doesn't take long. If you're able, consider giving. We'll be here to welcome you.
Welcome back. Today is Diaspora Day at the 11th Biennial Jamaica Diaspora Conference, taking place at the Montego Bay Convention Center in St. James. The conference runs through tomorrow, June 18th, under the theme Diaspora Partnerships, Rebuilding a More Climate-Resilient Jamaica. And this is taking place in the shadow of Hurricane Melissa. It's also taking place against a backdrop of hard numbers. According to Bank of Jamaica remittances from Jamaicans overseas, those accounted for 16.9% of this country's gross domestic product in 2024, $3.36 billion US. That's nearly 46% of Jamaica's entire import bill, paid by Jamaicans who do not live here. The question that hangs over every diaspora conference is then this: diaspora funds Jamaica. Does Jamaica govern with the diaspora? The Minister of State in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade with direct responsibility for diaspora engagement is the Honorable Orlando Terrelong. He's been the public face of this conference, leading engagement events in South Florida and New York ahead of the Montego Bay staging. Minister Terrelong joins us now. Welcome, Minister. Welcome, Minister. Not able to hear you. Yeah, hi, Minister Terrelong.
Hi, how are you? First of all, good evening to you and your listeners. We are live at the 11th Biennial Jamaica Diaspora Conference here in the beautiful sunshine city of Montego Bay. But I must tell you though, I heard your intro, but just to correct you, the question that you said that is hanging over, does the diaspora fund Jamaica? That is not the question that is hanging over this diaspora conference at all. In fact, what we're hearing is this is direct partnership, direct engagement, and we have so many persons who've traveled across not only traditional diaspora areas, which would be Canada, the United States, and the UK, but as far as China and Europe and Africa, Latin America, and the Caribbean, who are also here. This diaspora conference is in the spirit of partnership. How can we work together whilst positioning Jamaica as destination trade and investment? So already our diaspora partners who are here, they have already heard from Minister Floyd Green and how they can make great returns on investment in agriculture. They are now hearing from Dr. Christopher Tupton and how they can contribute towards the health sector. They have heard from Minister Rhoda Crawford. They've heard from Minister Severite, and several other influential persons across the private sector, from Grace Kennedy and JN, from fellow returning residents, how they can invest in Jamaica and get return on their capital. So that is the focus of this conference.
It's good to hear that that's the focus, because the question that we had asked was, does Jamaica govern with the diaspora? And you're saying that this partnership is one that the diaspora conference is now focused on, especially as today's Diaspora Day. Now, give us a headline. Give us the headline story. What's the single most important commitment that will come out of this conference that diaspora members from various corners of the world that you've spoken about can hold the government accountable for in the next 2 years' time?
Well, so already coming out of this diaspora conference, we already have the British Jamaican Chamber of Commerce, which has already been formed. So last evening at Sugar Mill Restaurant, we launched that program, which again, the British Jamaican Chamber of Commerce, what a normal Chamber of Commerce would do is aligning business interests, both in the UK and in Jamaica. Again, tangible outcomes. When you look at a very tangible outcome from the 2024 Diaspora Conference, you have the Diaspora Mentorship Academy, where students in Jamaica are being mentored by Jamaicans overseas. Not only are tuition and other items being paid for, they're receiving laptops, direct membership online, day-to-day, with scholarship opportunities for them to travel to Europe as well. So, we have tangible outcomes. The diaspora has always been seen by this administration as strategic partners, and our national diaspora policy speaks just to that. So coming out of this conference, what I will say is that there's a greater spirit of togetherness. There's a greater spirit of knowing that together we can rebuild a more resilient Jamaica. When I think about even 3 months ago, persons questioned, Orlando, do you want to go ahead with the conference? Or Minister Johnson Smith, should we go ahead with the conference? And we took the decision, yes, we will go ahead with the conference. Persons thought that in the aftermath of Hurricane Melissa, they thought about wars in Gaza, wars in Iraq, wars in Ukraine. They thought about increasing fuel prices. They thought about immigration policies in the US and the changes there. Persons questioned, should we have a diaspora conference? Would people come? And again, this has been a historic diaspora conference, oversubscribed. I mean, we had to make allowances for an additional 200 to 300 Jamaicans visiting from abroad who actually just wanted to be in the room. It's the perfect opportunity for persons to network, make those strong business connections, invest, and literally do business. And it has been a resounding success so far.
You've been able to speak about the diaspora all around the world, the partnerships, the things that we're getting out of this biennial or every 2-year conference that's taking place. But this partnership that is now happening on the ground, various groups being formed and the like, means that Jamaicans who look at the diaspora and the diaspora who continues to support Jamaica now have to work together. How do members of the diaspora get their voice heard outside of diaspora conferences like these?
All right, that's a great question. So we have, for example, two unique features of statute or of policy. We have the Global Jamaica Diaspora Council and we have the Global Jamaica Diaspora Youth Council. And so they are it's a 30-member strong council represented from across the globe. Again, from traditional areas as the US, the UK, and so forth, all the way across to the Middle East and Australia. And then we have our embassies, our high commissions, our different government departments overseas who actually work with the diaspora teams and who work with government as well. We also have focal points in each ministry where members across the diaspora, they can direct questions, including insights and expertise because it's about shared knowledge. And then, of course, Minister Rhoda Crawford made a very important point today. She said that diaspora engagement doesn't even need to be channeled directly through a government program or government agency. It is about someone who is from Grand Spen, but is now living in London, but who takes an interest because they went to Shortwood Basic School or they went to Harpertree Primary and they want to give back to that school or they want to support a family or they want to develop a scholarship in their name. So there are so many different ways that we can have direct diaspora engagement. And of course, as a government, we have facilitated a channel through the Global Jamaica Diaspora Council and of course through conferences such as these.
You corrected yourself when you're talking about how we had things like the Global Jamaica Diaspora Council, saying it wasn't legislation, it was policy. And that's part of the sticking point for some members of the diaspora, that they're so important, but they feel like they're being considered as remittances first, citizens next. And they want to get more involved. They go as far as saying they want to vote here in Jamaica. Very controversial issue. But for those who are looking, is there anything that the government is doing to move closer to having those members of the diaspora that continue to commit to Jamaica have a greater voice inside Jamaica?
So again, as I've indicated, we do have a national diaspora policy. We do have formal mechanisms of engagement.
But no legislation on the way, Minister Terrelong?
And of course, you have the conference, which is taking place right here at the Montego Bay Convention Center. Again, you have to remember, diaspora engagement takes many different forms. If you have a cousin or an aunt or an uncle who lives overseas and they give back with it to a church, to a clinic, to a school, that is diaspora engagement in another form.
But so the diaspora at this conference can't look forward yet to any legislation, but you have these policy bases and other ways, you said, of them getting involved. At the end of this conference, what do you want Jamaicans to understand about the importance of the diaspora, apart from the numbers, apart from the remittances, apart from even, some would argue, the investment that we're asking them to put back into the country?
No, well, again, so you have to remember that it's not just about putting investment into a country, and you keep going to remittances. That is an age-old argument, and that's the point I'm making. We are not focused on diaspora as remittances. We see diaspora as strategic partnership. We see them in terms of skills training, exchange of knowledge, expertise, making the right connections, and also offering Jamaica as an opportunity for them to do trade, do business, to invest. Jamaica is poised for greatness. When you look at our strategic development plans over the next 5 years, more than 80% of Jamaicans live within 5 kilometers of our coastlines. We are going to be removing coastal towns like Black River, building new towns, understanding and appreciating that with climate change, we can expect natural disasters to happen. So as a forward-thinking government, we'll be moving urban centers. Again, this provides great opportunities for investment. Our economic zones are expanding. We're expanding agriculture. We're expanding our real estate market.
So each of these offers opportunities then for the diaspora to get involved, and the Biennial Jamaica Diaspora Conference, its 11th staging, is certainly a way for us to do that. We just had Minister Terrelong there, the Honourable Minister Orlando Terrelong, Minister of State in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade. There, we lost him there at the very end of his discussion with us. But Minister, thank you so much for talking to us about the importance of the diaspora. When we come back, 3 stories the world is watching. Next, inside Global Lead.
Everybody Everybody want to see a country right now.
One thing about Jamaicans, we might have differences, but we know when something is good for all of us. And when we work together against crime and violence, we are stronger than ever. And that's how we know the Citizen Security Plan can work.
That one that name CSP.
The Citizen Security Plan is an initiative of the Ministry of National Security in partnership with the European Union. It's an all-of-government effort to create safer streets and build stronger communities. Go to mns.gov.jm to learn how you can play your part.
You notice how life nice when you eat good? Natural feed, fresh grass, no stress. Stress? I don't know her. They say happy cows make better milk. Well, just look how happy we are. And I'm sure you can taste the difference. So move to the best milk ever. True Milk.
Attention government pensioners. The Accountant General's Department Life Certificate Drive is coming your way. Look out for us on the following dates. Saturday, June 27th, Spanish Town Library. Monday, June 29, Morant Villas in St. Thomas. Tuesday, June 30, Portland Parish Library. Wednesday, July 1, St. Mary Parish Library. Thursday, July 2, St. Anne Parish Library. Friday, July 3, Trelawney Parish Library. Saturday, July 4, St. James Parish Library. Monday, July 6, Hanover Parish Library. Tuesday, July 7, Westmoreland Parish Library. Wednesday, July 8, St. James Methodist Church in Clarendon. Thursday, July 9, Manchester Parish Library. Friday, July 10, St. Matthew's Anglican Church in St. Elizabeth. And on Saturday, July 11, at the Portmore Parish Library. Remember, drop boxes are also available at parish libraries in Hanover, St. James, Portland, Westmoreland, and Manchester. Follow our social media pages and the press for more details.
Welcome back to Lead Story's Global Lead. Time now for the Global Current. Tonight's top 3 stories that every Jamaican needs to understand. Number 1, war, football, and borders. The 2026 FIFA World Cup is being co-hosted by the United States, Mexico, and Canada. It's the most ambitious tournament in football history. It's also, though, becoming a mirror of some of the most serious geopolitical tensions on the planet. And the Iranian football team is playing all 3 of its group stage matches on United States soil. But because of the ongoing war between the U.S., Israel, and Iran, a conflict that began in late February of this year, Iran's players are not permitted to remain in the United States between matches. Let's hear first what happened before the start of the World Cup.
This is where Iran say their new team base will be during the World Cup. Instead of Arizona as originally planned, they've opted to stay in the Mexican border city, Tijuana. The move, which was announced by the head of Iran's Football Federation on Saturday, has now been given the green light by the Mexican president.
The United States does not want the Iranian national team to stay overnight in the US. So they asked us, can they stay overnight in Mexico? And we said yes, no problem. We have absolutely no problem with that.
Iran said it has received approval from FIFA, but the World Football governing body has not confirmed the move. For the president of Iran's Football Federation, Tijuana is even a better option than staying in the US. They'll now be closer to Los Angeles, where Iran will play its first 2 group games against New Zealand and Belgium. Their last match will be against Egypt in Seattle. The one question that does remain is their visas. Last week, some members of the squad attended appointments at the US Embassy in Ankara in Turkey, where they are currently based for training. Iran's sports minister said they have guarantees from Gianni Infantino.
The FIFA president promised that all of our players would receive visas. There's no reason why our players should not receive visas.
Since the US attacked Iran back in February, FIFA has repeatedly insisted that Iran would play at the World Cup as scheduled. But Donald Trump has changed his stance on several occasions. In a statement on Monday, the US State Department said that the US president had made it clear that the Iranian team was welcome to participate in the tournament.
So we're watching this situation there from DW, what would have happened before the match. But Iran asked to move their matches to Mexico, one of the host nations. FIFA told them no. But the Iranian head coach has now said his team is being oppressed. No other team in the tournament has to do what Iran has done, which is move immediately after their match. After their 2-2 draw against New Zealand on Monday night, the entire Iranian squad was asked to move back to Mexico immediately. Let's take a look at this report.
Meanwhile, Iran's World Cup team says that they were ordered to leave the U.S. immediately following their World Cup match in Los Angeles. Iran's head coach says the team was supposed to spend the night in California as part of their normal post-game recovery process. But after their match against New Zealand, the team found out that they had to get on a plane to return to their training camp in Mexico. After enduring long security checks, Iran's team captain said it took them 5 hours to make it to Tijuana, about 140 miles away. Before their opening match began, the team was met with cheers, boos, and protesters outside the stadium. The Iranians are set to return to Los Angeles for their next match on Sunday against Belgium. They are playing, indeed, Egypt in Seattle on June 26th.
All right, so you're watching that. Today's news as well is that a Ghanaian player has now been barred from Canada. He's also required for duties there, and Ghana's government has described the decision as high-handed and extremely unfair. That's because Canada's immigration authorities have meant that Thomas Partey, one of Africa's most decorated players, and the Ghanaian midfielder, will not be allowed to go into Canada. He is charged in the United Kingdom for 7 counts of rape and 1 count of sexual assault, to which Partey has pleaded not guilty. He's not been convicted, and his trial is not scheduled until June 2 of next year. Now, the United States admitted him, Canada did not. So borders matter, and especially as we had a conversation starting off Lead Story about borders, small countries often are not the ones who get to determine what those borders and the control of those borders look like. Our second story today is an internet ban for children. That's because we have now been told that the United Kingdom, along with other countries, through its Prime Minister Keir Starmer, have announced that the UK will ban social media platforms from offering their services to anyone under the age of 16. The ban would cover platforms including Snapchat, TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and X, but exclude messaging apps like WhatsApp and Signal. The first regulations are expected to take effect as early as spring next year. Let's take a listen.
In some of the world's most far-reaching online restrictions to date, British Prime Minister Keir Starmer on Monday said he would ban social media sites for under 16s and impose restrictions on gaming and live streaming platforms. Starmer told a press conference that the sweeping changes will reflect Britain's values and help protect children online while pushing back against the power of big technology companies. As well as a ban on sites such as TikTok, Snapchat and Instagram, he said he would take action against gaming and live streaming services.
At the moment, strangers can contact any child unchecked. Just think about that. Is there a situation in the offline world where you would just let your child pair up with a stranger?
Starmer said the government already has the powers to take the first steps in any ban, with regulation to follow by the end of the year and a prohibition in place around next spring. Britain has increasingly toughened its approach to tech companies in recent years. It's urging or forcing them to impose age verification, adapt their algorithms, and, most recently, prevent children from circulating nude images taken on mobile phones. But with a growing awareness of the mental health risks posed by children spending too much time online, Starmer has decided to go further, and the news was welcomed by many.
I don't think kids need that kind of stuff right now, especially at that young age. I didn't have social media until I was 16. I loved life before that, and I think a lot of insecurities I had were from interacting with stuff online.
Well, I think it's a great idea. I feel like, I've got a 2-year-old, so I just kind of think about the future, and I feel like it's probably a really good thing to kind of put that ban in place.
Britain has consulted teachers, parents and young people on new restrictions. It received more than 116,000 responses from parents, industry and young people. More than 83% of parents who responded said risks from social media outweighed benefits. While many parents and politicians back a ban, some psychologists and researchers have said there's no proof that it would work.
Well, it's not only a conversation in the United Kingdom, it's also a conversation here in Jamaica. So that's what we're discussing tonight inside Lead Story Prime. What exactly does it mean for us to put a ban on under 16s being on the internet in Jamaica? What would it involve? What would it require? And do we have the regulatory architecture to enforce it? And the final story inside our global current. One man, 63 Jamaicas. Because on June 12, 5 days ago, Elon Musk became the world's first trillionaire. SpaceX went public on the NASDAQ under the ticker symbol SPCX in what is now the largest initial public offering in the history of financial markets. Let's take a listen.
Elon Musk has become the world's first trillionaire. Catapulted by the historic market debut of his rocket company, SpaceX, the tech mogul has officially amassed 13-figure wealth. SpaceX debuted on public markets Friday at $150 a share, locking in an unprecedented $1.97 trillion market valuation. Ahead of the first trade-in, Forbes put Musk's net worth at $982 billion. Much of his fortune comes from his electric car company, Tesla. He also co-founded the company that later became PayPal. $1 trillion is 1,000 times greater than $1 billion, and 1,000,000 times greater than $1 million. A 1 and 12 zeros, 4 commas. Still, the number 1 trillion is hard to comprehend. So let's put it in perspective. If you made $100,000 a year and saved every penny, it would take you 10 million years to match that wealth. That means you would have had to start working when early human ancestors were first walking the earth. If Musk decided to buy every single American adult a $4 iced coffee every single day, he could keep the entire country caffeinated for almost 3 years straight. His wealth will sit just shy of the gross domestic product of Poland, while completely eclipsing the entire annual economic output of Taiwan. Only about 20...
Well, how to put that in context for Jamaica? Jamaica's entire gross domestic product is